The Japanese word for she, 彼女, didn't exist until the 1800s. Not because Japanese speakers were somehow enabled to talk about women, but because they genuinely had no use for such a word. And the story of how it finally gets invented says something wild about language, culture, and what happens when two completely different ways of seeing the world smack into each other. In English, pronouns are an exclusive member-only club, like he, she, they. You can't just invent a new one over breakfast and expect it to catch on. But in Japanese, the things we call pronouns are really just regular nouns wearing disguise. They obey the exact same grammar rules as every other noun. You can stick an adjective in front of one. うさんくさい彼. Literally, the sketchy he. And that's flawless Japanese. Because pronouns are basically just nouns. New ones pop up and old ones quietly retire all the time. The word 僕, which boys use for I, used to mean servant. The word 自分, meaning oneself, is now used as first-person pronoun by athletes and me. いやー、自分は違うと思いますけどね. And over in the Kansai region, people use it to mean you. 自分どこ行くの? The whole system is basically liquid. So in an environment this fluid, a rigid Western style he, she, it never had any reason to show up. Before the 1800s, there was a word pronounced kare, but it didn't mean he. It was a pointing word, roughly that thing, person way over there. It comes from the distal root ka, meaning far from both the speaker and the listener. The phrase かの有名な, meaning that famous or the well-known, and also comes from that same distal root ka, which carries a whiff of respect. The key thing, kare had zero gender. It could point at a man, a woman, or a rock. And in the polished world of the imperial court, it was actually a sign of respect. Parking someone in the realm of unapproachable distance was a way of honoring them. You see this all over the tale of Genji, the 11th century novel often called the world's first psychological novel. The author, Murasaki Shikibu, never uses personal names for her characters. Naming someone outright was rude. Instead, women get identified by the wing of the palace they live in, the rank of their male relatives, or the flowers mentioned in the poems they once swapped. A staggeringly intricate web of honorific verb ending tells the reader exactly who's doing what to whom. And everyone's relative social rank, no gendered pronoun required. In 1868, Japan needed over 2 centuries of isolation and kicked off one of the most frantic modernization sprees in history. Part of the job meant translating thousands of Western texts like legal codes, philosophy, literature into Japanese at absolutely breakneck speed. And Western languages have he and she absolutely everywhere. Every other sentence demands one. So Japanese translators basically had to build the words for ideas that didn't exist yet. They cooked up terms for society, individual, freedom, romantic love. Entire abstract concept with no Japanese equivalent. And here's another fun fact while we are on the subject of missing concepts. Kissing was one too. Before Japan opened up to the world, the whole Western idea of a kiss, a casual peck hello, an innocent bit of romantic affection, a parent kissing a child, simply didn't exist. None of those meanings were part of the culture. For centuries, Japanese word for kissing was kuchisui, which translates literally to mouth sucking. And it meant exactly what it sounds like, Kuchisui was heavy-duty foreplay, an explicitly sexual act reserved for the bedroom or the pleasure quarters. There was no innocent version of it. Some people trace Japan's lingering discomfort with public displays of affection right back to this. When your only native concept of a kiss is fundamentally sexual, doing it on a street corner is going to feel deeply weird for a long time. Anyway, back to pronouns. The translators needed a she. Their fix. Grab the old pointing word kare, strip off its gender neutral meaning, and announce that it now means he. Then for she, they bolted together ka no onna, literally that woman over there, written like this. Ka no onna. Then, in 1885, the novelist Tsubouchi Shoyo made one tiny sound tweak. Instead of reading this kanji as onna, the native Japanese reading, he switched to the reading jo. Just like that. Kano onna fused into a single tidy word, kanojo. A pronoun was born, not from the language, but from translation deadline. Here's where it gets even weirder, because kanojo had no deep roots in everyday speech. The moment it escaped from academic translation circle into pop culture, people started using it however they pleased. Around the same time, Japan was also importing the Western idea of romantic love, ren-ai, yet another brand new word for the brand new concept. And Japanese needed a casual word for girlfriend, using kanojo, that woman, was vague enough to feel polite and pleasantly non-committal, which suited Japanese conversational instinct perfectly. By the late 1920s, it has set like concrete. Kanojo means girlfriend, kare or kareshi means boyfriend. So today, if someone asks you, kanojo iru, they absolutely not asking, does a she exist? They are asking, do you have a girlfriend? Casually using kanojo about a female coworker risks making it sound like the two of you are an item. This is exactly why Japanese teachers beg their students, do not use kanojo like English pronouns. They will get you into trouble. So what do Japanese speakers actually do when they need to talk about a woman in the third person? Mostly they just use her name or her title. A teacher is sensei, a department head is bucho. A senior colleague is senpai. These little work exactly like pronouns, and unlike English, Japanese has no problem repeating them 10 times in a row. Also, there's anohito, that person, which is gender neutral. For extra respect, anokata, that distinguished person. For rough, casual talk among close friends, there's aitsu, that one over there. Also completely gender neutral. That said, kanojo does still get used as genuine she, mostly in writing rather than speech, like novels, news articles, and translated text, where clear third-person pronoun actually earns its keep. The language's homegrown tools are all about space and relationships. The Western import is the awkward outsider at the party. One last twist, because kare and kanojo lock in a strict male-female binary, and because they've gotten so wielded boyfriend, girlfriend, Japanese has no neutral equivalent of singular they for non-binary people. Non-binary character in translated media give Japanese localizers real headaches. So solution? Lean on exactly what classical Japanese did all along. Zero anaphora. Kono hito. This person, ano hito. That person. The language's ancient toolkit turns out to be way more flexible than its semi-modern import. The history of she in Japanese is really a story of the language collision. Classical Japanese was built around space, hierarchy, and context. It encoded gender not through labels slapped onto other people, but through the words speakers picked for themselves. Which first person pronoun you choose says everything about who you are. The word 彼女 was grafted on from the outside, survived, mutated into girlfriend, and never quite became the neutral pronoun it was invented to be. Over a century later, Japanese speakers are still doing exactly what they always did, trusting context, leaning on titles, and leaving subjects unspoken. The foreign pronoun showed up, it just never fully put down roots.